My name is Chris. I like to live my life on the edge, so I can't always go to where the tea is. But I can take it with me. Want to be free? Holster your tea. Hello, whoever. Today I'm going to show you how to make a teacup holster out of foam. Alright, before you start making the holster, it's good to figure out what teacup and saucer combo you're going to use. As I found out myself, they come in a lot of different sizes and shapes. You want to make sure the cup can sit upside down on the saucer without its handle smashing into the saucer edge. And you want to make sure the cup narrows down enough at the base so that the strap that goes over it can hold it nice and firm. Once you've chosen an acceptable cup and saucer, you can print out the pattern. Make sure to print it at actual size, which happens to be 100%. Then you can cut the pieces out with some scissors. Cut right along the outside edge of the black lines and don't cut on the dotted lines. You'll notice there are 2 cup cradles and 2 swirly detail things. So now would be a good time to measure the top diameter of your cup. If it's around 8 centimeters, you'll want to use cup cradle A, and if it's around 9.5 centimeters, you'll want to use cup cradle B. You'll also want to cut out the swirly piece that goes along with the cradle you've chosen, or you might not want to cut it out, because it's a bit of a pain. It is just an added decoration for the holster, so feel free to leave it out if you don't enjoy patience and doing hard, annoying things. Alright, now it's time to grab some 2mm foam. I'm using Cosplay Apprentice's What the Foam here, and I'm using it because it's way stronger than regular EVA craft foam. I just don't think I'd trust a teacup to regular craft foam. One of the nice things about this pattern is you can fit all the pieces for the smaller cup size on one sheet of foam. Trace around all the pieces with a fine tipped paint pen, making sure to mark the center lines on the cup cradle and the front pocket. Extend those lines right onto the pieces. You can mark the score line on the cup cradle just by sliding the pattern piece back, keeping it within the edges that you've already drawn. Once you've traced the outside of the front pocket, grab the pattern piece again and cut along the dotted line that corresponds the closest to your cup size. You can then trace around that circle, making sure to mark the center line again. Note, this circle is just for reference, so don't cut it out when you're cutting out the pieces. Here's a quick look at how I laid everything out on the foam. There's a couple more pieces I added later to the pattern, but they fit in that open space. Now you can grab a super sharp knife and cut all the pieces out. Just remember, don't cut your fingers off. Also, have fun cutting out those swirly bits. Just kidding, you won't have fun, but you can get it done. I believe in you. Once all your pieces are cut out, it's time to start gluing. Lay the front pocket on the back piece so you can mark where the top edge is. Throw down some protective paper and get out your glue. I normally use hot glue, but today I'm using contact cement. The reason for this is, again, I don't want my holster to fall apart if I'm out somewhere really hot and sunny. So flip over the front pocket, create a nice little spreading tool from a sour cream lid, apply some contact cement around the outer edges of piece 1 until you get to the lines you made, spread it out real nice with your fancy spreader, and then do the same thing around the curved edge of the front pocket piece. Then allow it to dry until it's no longer tacky. While you're waiting, grab the box from a yummy cereal and cut some strips from it. Once the glue's dry, you can place the strips over the glue, just leaving the little bottom section open. This allows you to line up the pieces before you start sticking them together. That's the thing about using contact cement. As soon as it contacts, it's cemented permanently. So once it's in place, remove the 2 cardboard strips and press down around the edge. Grab the cup cradle piece and the back of your scalpel or a spoon handle or something similar, and use it to compress the foam along the score line. Rub over and over and over it, pressing quite hard until it is significantly depressed compared to the rest of the foam. Now you can use your contact cement to glue the swirly piece in the space above the scored line, with the cardboard strips coming in handy again to line everything up before you're too committed. Bend up that little rim to a 90-degree angle, and then go around the cup cradle with your fingers, basically stretching that flange of foam until it's able to sit down in a circular form. Apply contact cement around the cup rim guideline and the base of the cradle. I should mention my cup rim was exactly 8 centimeters, so this guideline was perfect for it. If yours is slightly different, you can still use the line as a guide and apply the glue either inside or outside the line, depending on what's appropriate. Place your teacup in the middle of the circle and hold it firmly in place as you use it as a guide to lower down the cup cradle onto the contact cement. Now your cup cradle should fit your cup like a glove. Easy out, easy in, and relatively secure. Slide the saucer in the saucer pocket, fire up your heat gun, and patiently heat up the pocket of your teacup holster. Hold down the teacup with one hand, and with your other hand, form the pocket to the contours of the saucer. You may need to reheat it and form it a few times until you have it looking exactly how you like it. You can also heat the back and form it just a little bit too. Just remember to hold the foam until it completely cools, and that way when you take out your cup and saucer, it's still going to hold the form that you gave it. And now it looks a little bit like a spaceship, I think. Make a mark about 4 centimeters up from the tip of the belt strap and transfer it onto the back. Do the same for the second one, making sure it's the same height as the first one. Line up those marks with the top edge of the back piece and trace the points. Now you can flip them over, apply some glue, and stick them down. Flip the straps over to the back side and mark some rectangles on the straps and the back where you're planning to apply your glue. Then glue them down. Next, apply glue to the ends of the Y-shaped cup retainer pieces, and once dry, those Y shapes can go together end to end. Glue piece 5 over top so it looks like an intentional design decision, rather than just a tricky way of covering up that seam. Now with your cup in its cradle, put your cup retainer in its cup retaining position, and figure out how long the strap going to the bottom needs to be. Cut the strap down to length and fit it again on the holster. Pull it nice and tight, and when you're happy with where it needs to be, mark it and glue it. Glue the little flappy bit down over top to hide the previous gluing. Now, if you want to go as simple as possible, you could just glue a bit of Velcro at the end of the strap and a bit on the back of the holster. However, I love a bit of detail, so I'm going to add a buckle to that strap. And when you need to find a buckle, where do you go? The thrift store, of course. Alright, so here's the places I look for buckles at a thrift store. I look in the belt section, the dog collar section, the random chest section, the handbag section, the wallet section, but I find I have the most luck in the shoe section, especially when I'm looking for smaller buckles. And what have we here? 4 buckles for $2. Good enough for me. Of course, you should really get the buckles before you start the project, just to make sure all the straps fit before you glue everything together. But in my case, I was lucky. The buckles turned out to be the perfect size. So harvest your buckle and figure out where it's going to go on the strap. I put mine about 3.7 centimeters from the point of the Y. With the strap folded over again, punch a small hole about 5 millimeters from the fold. Open up the strap and cut 2 lines between the 2 holes to give you a slot, a buckle slot. Cut the excess length from the strap, leaving just enough to glue it down. Now grab piece 7, the buckle strap, and pretend it's going through the buckle. Decide how much of its tip you want to have extend past the buckle, and then mark the spot where the hole needs to be to make that happen. Punch that hole with your leather punch, and then punch a few more holes on either side to make it look more realistic. Because have you ever seen a buckle strap with only one hole? I didn't think so. Now you can put the strap through the buckle and do it up, pull it tightly around to the back side, and glue it down in place. Now really, you could be done at this point if you want to be, but if you don't want to be, you could still add more stuff. Let's add some extra details, like an edge reinforcement strip. Make a mark 2.5 centimeters from the edge of the bottom flap, line up the reinforcement strip with that mark, and make a mark at the top where it ends. Then apply glue to the strip and to the front, side, and back of the holster between those 2 marks. With the glue dry, align the strip so it's centered along the edge, and then you can go around the edge with your fingers, squeezing the strip over to the front and the back. Slowly work your way around until it looks beautiful. With your cup in the cradle, grab a silver spoon and glue piece number 9 over top of it to hold it in place. Make sure you glue it with enough clearance so the humpy up part of the spoon handle can still slide through it. For gluing little bits like this, I find super glue is an easier glue to use, so that's what I'm using here. Now on the other side of the cup, I think we need some way of holding a little bit of sugar to make our tea nice and sweet. How about a test tube? That'd be fun. Cut out the test tube holder bottom, heat it up with your heat gun, and form it around the test tube. If you're wondering, the ones I used are about a 12mm outside diameter. Make sure they're plastic for non-breakingness. Heat and form piece 11 to go around the test tube as well, and then those can both be glued in place on the opposite side from the spoon. Also, my test tube came with an ugly plastic cap, so rather than using that, I'm going to take a cork and cut it down until it fits in the end of my test tube. That's better. Don't forget the sugar in the sugar tube. Alright, now it's time to add some fake rivets, so go around marking exactly where you want them. For the rivets around the edges, I used the simplest technique possible, which was just poking it with a mechanical pencil. For the rest of the rivets, I decided to use my old favorite 2-part epoxy. I know that's not everyone's favorite, so make sure to check out my video showing lots of different ways you can make fake rivets. I'll put a link in the description. Anyways, if you do make epoxy rivets, make sure to mix up the epoxy really well, and then use a match head to drop a drop of epoxy everywhere you want there to be a rivet. You gotta do it quick though, because the epoxy starts to gel in a couple minutes. With the rivets cured, it is of course time to paint. I used Plaid Effects paints for the brown base color. I like them because they're made to be flexible. You could also use just regular artist's acrylics. Paint everything brown, giving it 2 or 3 good coats of paint, obviously letting it dry between the coats. Of course, if we want this to look like leather, it shouldn't all just be the same shade of brown. So once that color of brown has dried, grab a lighter color of brown, such as raw sienna, cut up an old shirt to make a high-tech paint application device, dab a little bit of paint on the device, and then dab most of it off on some scrap paper. Once there's just about no paint left on the pad, you can rub it over top of the original brown color, adding just a little bit of paint at a time. Definitely start on the back where it's not going to be seen, so you can perfect your technique before you bring your new skills to the front side. It's up to you where you want to add the lighter brown on your holster, but I chose to do it on the surfaces that are more raised and accessible, like the areas that would get a bit more wear in natural use. So try a few things and see what you like best. The good thing is you can always just paint it brown again and start over if you really hate it. Now, not only are we going to add lightness, we're going to also add some darkness. You know how leather can get kind of stained on the edges over the years from, I guess, like oils in your hands and different things? Well, to add that look, we're going to do the same thing with some black paint. This time just use your finger instead of the big pad you made, so you don't overdo it. Rub the black anywhere where you think it would look better if it looked blacker. I concentrated most of my darkening around all the edges, and I like how that ended up looking. Lastly, I want to make it look like some of these parts are actually made out of brass, so all those parts are going to get a black base coat to start from. Then I can use my vintage brass paint in pretty much the same way I rubbed on the black and the lighter brown. This time I'm using a rubber glove though on my finger instead of a cloth for greater precision and accuracy. I'm also intentionally not covering up some of the black in the recesses, so the brass retains a nice antique look at the end. And that, my friend, is a finished teacup holster. Yay, you did it! Teacup holster. This is a great project because it only takes one sheet of foam this size and a few hours of work, and you end up with a piece that really adds that little something extra to your costume. Not to mention it's super handy if you're somewhere and they don't have teacups and you would like a teacup. I'm sure you're aware, but I should mention, if you're wearing a porcelain teacup, be very careful where you go with it and what you do and who's around you. I take no responsibility for porcelain shards ripping your trampoline. As usual, there will be a link if you want to buy this pattern either at the end of the video or in the description below. Of course, you'll also find it in my Ultimate Everything Super Value Bundle, which includes all the foam patterns I've ever made and ever will make in the future. So that's a really good deal. I don't know why I did that, but I just wanted to try it out and give people stuff that made them happy. So it's a good deal. I would buy it if I was me, but I don't have to because I am me, and I get the patterns for free. Anyways, thanks for watching. See ya. Awesome.
You lost all the wheels.
Okay, that's good. We can go. Yeah, tea on the ground. Yeah. No. Okay. Sweet moves. Well, I still have this bit of tea left. Delicious. I hope you got that. Yeah.